Where is Lane Kiffin going to go? That is the question on every Ole Miss fan's mind, every LSU fan's mind, Florida. Hell, he may even go to the New York Giants. We've heard every rumor under the sun when it comes to Lane Kiffin. And I will repeat exactly what I said when these rumors first started, because we're going to talk about the new information that was gathered, but I need people to understand the lay of the land before we talk about the additional information. Lane Kiffin is only going to leave Ole Miss if he does not believe that he can win a national championship at Ole Miss, if that is his top priority. Because frankly, I don't know, and no one else but Lane Kiffin and his family, and maybe even just Lane Kiffin himself and maybe his journal or his dream journal, I don't know. Maybe the man has one. Only him and his family can answer whether or not a national championship is the number one thing that he wants to strive for in his career. Is it the glory of that? Is it getting to the mountaintop? If that's a yes, does he believe he could do it at Ole Miss is the follow-up question. And I think that's what will decide his answer. If he doesn't want to win a national championship, that's not the number one thing, and he just wants to be an all-time great head coach, and he's fine with just continuously winning, and maybe a national championship comes to fruition and he continues to fight for it, then he probably stays at Ole Miss. But if it is the number one thing that he wants to do, the last thing on his bucket list for Lane Kiffin, the career, when we go look back, and he probably will get a documentary and it'll be incredible, does he want a national championship to be the end of that documentary? And I would infer that as a competitor and what his career and his background is with being a coach at the caliber of what he is and where he's gotten to, that he wants to win a national championship. Both answers, you could want one, but the number one thing he wants. And Ole Miss fans will fight back, and I don't disagree that this is not an Ole Miss versus Florida and LSU battle like it was 10 years ago, where it would be just such a distinct gap between the type of jobs those are. But it's still Florida and LSU. They still can throw their weight around in the caliber of job that they are. I actually lean that Florida is more likely than LSU, because LSU right now, I mean, they're having their own former head coach sue against them because they don't want to pay out the buyout money and all these different things. So we'll mainly talk about Florida. And the new information that we have to talk about is there's been reported family visits to both Florida and LSU, which makes sense, because if you go read the tea leaves in previous conversations or rumor mills, that Lane Kiffin's family loves Oxford, Mississippi. They love what they have in Ole Miss. And as frustrating as it might be as an Ole Miss fan, and we'll talk about their perspective in this ultimatum, you have to call a spade and say, listen, I got to send my family out there. I'm not going to do it. We're in the middle of a college football playoff race. I think it's fair for Lane to do that. And you have to also understand, Lane's been wanting this for years. Not saying the jobs and that he's going to take it, but the fact that people are going to want him. He's the hot girl. He's the star of the show, the belle of the ball, the princess in the situation. I don't know, pick one. And for years, he wasn't the one that anyone wanted. No one, like, he was immediately banned. No matter what he did at, like, FAU, based on his previous iterations and the stops, he was untouchable by most departments, for fair reasons or not. And now he's finally the one that is wanted. And so I think it's fair to say that you don't really know how Lane's going to react when he gets these offers. So as an Ole Miss administrator, or the administration at Ole Miss, better said, there's now been rumors that there's an ultimatum that, Lane, you got to decide, are you going to stay at Ole Miss or are you going to pursue these other jobs? To which you probably will get the defensive coordinator to coach for the college football playoff. And that may even impact their seeding in the college football playoff, because for whether it's fair or not, knocked Florida State out, even though they went undefeated with Jordan Travis's injury. Now, they're not going to be knocked out of the playoff. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they may drop down a couple seeds, get a different matchup if Lane Kiffin's not coaching there. Now, Lane has talked about on the Pat McAfee show that there's no ultimatum. That's not a real thing. It's not like he's going to admit, like, what do you think he's going to say? I think if there's smoke, there's some fire here. And it makes sense if you're an Ole Miss admin that, like, hey, man, we're seeing a lot of smoke. You're sending your family out here. What are we doing? Do you want to stay or not? Because if he wanted to stay and he wanted the extension, he would sign it. You can't tell me there hasn't been an extension talked about, at least with him and Ole Miss. I truly do believe if Lane wanted to be an Ole Miss Rebel, the extension would be signed. There'd be no noise. That's my 2 cents on it. If I were to make a prediction, and I'm going to make one for this segment, I think Lane Kiffin goes to Florida. I really, really believe it. I think Florida is more stable than LSU right now. And I think that's been the match made in heaven for a long time. And I think when Lane gets that offer slid across the table, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of investment into the Florida football program. He's going to sign it. So I really do believe he's going to be a Florida Gator sooner rather than later.